Hi everyone, my name is Mercedes Silva. Today we will be going over density, and we will be doing a float or sink experiment. And the NGSS standard that we will be going over today is 5-PS1-3, which is make observations and measurements to identify materials based on their properties. And the disciplinary core idea that we will be going over is PS1.A, which is structure and properties of matter. This experiment is going to be super fun for students. They'll be able to see firsthand and build their knowledge. And there's two learning goals that I hope to address with this experiment. The first is students will be able to explain that the density of an item has to do with how heavy it is in comparison to its size. And students will also be able to explain that density is a characteristic property of a substance. So I want to start by posing a question for you guys. Why do you think that some items float, and why do you think that some items sink? What I want you guys to do is turn to the person next to you and share an experience where you guys have seen an item float or seen an item sink, and just, share your experience with that and why you guys think that happened. And this can be in any scenario that you've experienced, either at the pool, at the beach, in the bathtub, with cups of water, just different experiences that you guys have had. You guys can just share one experience, and I'll give you guys 2 minutes to talk to each other. After those 2 minutes, I want one person from each pair to share with the class what their experience was. Okay guys, so now that we've had the chance to share with each other our experiences with floating and sinking items whenever we're in water, I want you guys to get your journals out, and we're going to go ahead and write the definition of density at the very top. And this definition is on the whiteboard, but I'm going to go ahead and read it off for you guys. And then I'll give you guys about a minute to write the definition down so that we can get started on our activity. So, density. This is the definition, okay? A measure of how heavy something is compared to its size. That's it. That's all I want you to write for this definition. And when you guys are done, please just put your thumbs up so that I know that we're ready to get started on our experiment. Okay, so now that we went over the definition of density, we're going to go ahead and get started. But first, I want you guys to go ahead and grab the worksheet that I put on your desk. And you guys are all working in pairs, okay? So this will be filled out in groups of 2 with the same person that you guys talked to about your experience with floating and sinking items. So here we have the 10 items that we will be putting in water. In this second row, it says predictions. So all I need you to write here is either float or sink for each item. And we're going to do this in the next 2 minutes, so that way we can have our predictions before we actually perform the experiment. And in this last row, we're going to put what actually happened. So we'll either put float or sink here. Okay, so if you guys want to go ahead and fill out the prediction part first, once you're done with that, we will move on to the actual experiment itself. I'll give you guys about 2 to 3 minutes so that you guys can fill out your predictions. Okay, so now that we have finished our predictions, we should all see a clear container with water at our desks, and you guys are doing this in pairs, and we're going to actually go through each object and put it in the water together so that we can all determine what actually happened together. The first item that we are putting in the water is a marker, and this item floats, so you can write float under the what actually happened section. The next item is this big rock, and it sunk. So let's go to the next item, which is this small acorn, and we can see that this item is floating. It's at the top of the water. The next item is a hair tie. It looks like this item also floats. The next item is a battery. And this item sank all the way to the bottom as well. Next we have a bobby pin. Looks like that also sank to the bottom. Next we have a quarter, and that item also sank. Next we rock. That item also sank. And lastly, we have dental floss in this container. And this item is floating above the water. So now that we went ahead and completed the experiment and we have all filled out our worksheet, we're going to understand why some of our predictions were not true. So let's go ahead and grab our quarter and our floss container. When we put them in water, we determined that the quarter sinks and this floss container stays above the water, which means it floats. So we can conclude that the more dense an item is than what it's being put in, so in this case the water, that's what's going to cause it to sink. And the less dense an item is will cause it to float and stay above water. So I want you guys to get your journals out, and this is going to be done individually. I want you guys to answer this question. What would happen if this liquid wasn't water? Let's just assume that we did this again and we did it in, let's say, orange juice. Or so you guys can think of any kind of liquid other than water, which is what we just did. And you guys are just going to write what you think would happen if you were to put objects in that liquid. So I'm going to give you guys about 5 minutes to answer this question. And once you're done, just close your journals so that I know you're finished, okay? And then once everyone's done, we'll meet on the carpet so that we can go over a couple definitions that are going to help us for the next lesson plan.